how the bumps come in, because the bums, all they know they can offer is dick. The Next Door Podcast. Welcome back to the Next Door Podcast. I am Bestie Next Door, and I'm like your bestie next door. If you like your tea to be extra, extra sweet, then this place is not for you, because we like our tea to be sweet and bitter. Sweet enough that it goes down, bitter enough to wake us up. Guys, welcome back. Guys, I've finally gotten to a rhythm. Like I told you guys in my last episode, I'm probably going to be posting 1 episode a week. And if I do post 2, then that means like I really had a lot to talk about. But quality over quantity, and I don't want to burn myself out. You know, I'm trying to be of service, and you know, being of service, I also got to be of service to myself. And I know that me trying to do 2 episodes a week is kind of a little bit draining. But if I feel in the rhythm of that week where I have 2 topics to talk about that I feel like will be very useful, then of course I will post 2 episodes. Now, without further ado, we're going to get into today's topic. Today's topic, we're talking about the difference between being overly independent and self-sufficient, and how it affects your life and dating life. The reason why I chose to talk about this is because of the contents that I've been posting. I've noticed, because I've been talking about having your own money as a woman and just making sure you secure your bag as a woman, I feel like a lot of women get the message confused, because I have been seeing different comments where they be like, oh, your messaging is changing. I thought you was with this movement, the sprinkle movement. You all of a sudden you're changing now. You're rebranding, quote, quote, quote. And I actually want to say this. This is where the confusion lies between women, right? I feel like a lot of women don't understand that you can be having your own money and having a business without being overly independent. I think that a lot of women think they need to choose between the two, and that's where the confusion lies. There's a huge difference from being overly independent and self-sufficient. So let's just first of all dive right into it and like understand what it does it mean to be overly independent. Yes, I am filming a podcast episode. Yes, I am. What does it mean to be overly independent? And overly independent feel like they must do everything alone. That's the first thing. The second thing is they're rooted in survival mode, often come from past disappointments, maybe from men, childhood trauma, or the belief that relying on others make you weak. The third one is avoiding asking for help, even though it is offered with good intentions. That's the third one. The fourth one is may see relationships as a burden rather than a partnership. The next one is feels emotionally disconnected in relationships due to a hyper focus on self-reliance. The last one is this mindset often leads to exhaustion and burnout because she's carrying everything alone. Now, I want you guys to understand that just because you are chasing your own money and you are trying to chase your goals and aspirations, that does not mean you do not need a man. Okay, that does not mean that, oh, Bestie Next Door is trying to say, oh, now we should be self-reliant. We shouldn't ask for help. We should stand. No, it's not that. That's not what I'm saying. And I have to make this very, very clear in this episode, because a lot of women cannot comprehend balance. And that's the issue with most women in today's society. They don't understand how to balance things. And that's something that a lot of women need to learn from men, how to balance, right? So you getting your own money is you being self-sufficient. Nobody wants to deal with an adult that acts like a toddler. So as you want a man to be self-sufficient, it's very important for you to be self-sufficient as well. And I think that's where the confusion comes in, where it's like, oh, well, I want to provide a man and I don't have to work and I don't have to. You should not just want to not do nothing with your life. And that's why I've been trying to change the tone of 2025, because I feel like women feel like it's one or the other. It's, oh, I'm either going to be at home and do nothing and he does everything, or I'm going to do everything and be hyper independent. No, it's not that. Every single one of us have goals and aspirations. And if being a housewife and being a mom is your goal and your aspirations, kudos to you. But if you know that you're just being lazy based on the content that you're seeing, then you're not being self-sufficient. You're actually being a dependent. See, there's a difference between depending on a man, like being able to rely on a man, and being a full-out dependent. Being a full-out dependent is you not being self-sufficient, is you putting yourself in a compromising situation. It's you being a kid. Because now, you got to think of it like this. We're in a new era. We're in a new generation, right? Every 10 years, every 30 years is a new generation. This current generation now, and this current generation of millionaires, billionaires, they appreciate beautiful, self-sufficient women, not overly independent women. That's the confusion. Because I also seen a comment on one of my posts where women said, oh, men that are in careers, they don't want their women to have careers. Bullshit. The reason why most men have issues with women getting their money is not because, oh, I want her. Some men, I can't speak for all, but some men, the issue with some men with women who are career driven is they become overly independent. They become too in survival mode. They become, oh, I don't need a man. You do need a man. I still want you guys to rest in your feminine energy as you're making money, right? Don't ever get it confused. I am not changing you shouldn't go for a provider because you're providing for yourself. I'm not changing that tone. I just want you to match the energy that you're looking for. Because when you're matching the energy you're looking for, it becomes easier for you to receive exactly what you want. The reason why most of you are not getting the kind of guy you want or the kind of things you want is because you're not living up to the expectations of what you have for others. So if you're not living up to that expectation, then obviously you're not going to get it. You're going to be like, oh, all the men, they don't have money. The men are feminine. There's this, that. You're going to keep having this resistance because you're not even living up to the energy that you're projecting that you want in a partner. So that's the reason why I've been saying to you guys of this 2025, we're talking about how to be self-sufficient, because if you want something, you have to be ready for what it is you're asking for. If you're not ready for what you're asking for, you're never going to get it. And you have to match energy. Energy is a currency. If you're not going to match the energy, you're never going to get it. You're going to be in a circle. Now let's move on to what it means to be a self-sufficient woman so you guys can understand, because we talked about what does it mean to be overly independent. Now let's understand what it is to be a self-sufficient woman. A self-sufficient woman has her own, but understands that partnerships enhances her life, not threatens it. I'll repeat that again. A self-sufficient woman has her own, but understands that partnership enhances her life, not threatens it. What does that mean? You can have your own business and still have a man providing for you. It don't change. It don't have to be one or the other. The second thing is she can handle her finances, emotions, and responsibilities, but is open to support and collaboration. So you can handle all your stuff by yourself, but you're open to support. Like you allow a man to be a man, provide, pay the bills. You allow a man to be a man. The third thing is she values healthy interdependency, where two people can contribute to each other's lives without codependency. A lot of you want to be children to these men. A lot of you want to be dependents. That's what it really be giving nowadays. It's really giving, and it's sad to say, but it's really just be given. When I hear some women, like when I read some of the comments on my post, I notice that it's really a lot of women that are just naturally lazy. Like you're just lazy because it's like, why do you want to just sit at home and do nothing? Like, aren't you going to get bored of doing nothing? Like, why would you not want to thrive to be better? Why would you not want to self-improve? A lot of women are just seeking self-improvement just so they can be lazy to have a man take care of everything and just be at home and not do nothing. And then you know what tends to happen is when you put yourself in that type of situation, it really does get nasty. It gets nasty later on. And that's the reason why I've been talking to you guys about other things, because I know, like, all right, there's the internet where you could be like, oh, my husband, my babe did this, but then there's real life. And you know, when real life starts to set, you want to make sure you're able to walk away from a situation you don't like. And a lot of women cannot walk away because they can't afford to, because they're not self-sufficient. And it's very hard to break the habit of codependency when you walk into a relationship being a dependent. So that's the reason why I'm trying to not make you hyper independent, but self-sufficient. Now, another thing in what it means to be a self-sufficient woman is she understands that receiving is just as powerful as giving. She understands that receiving is just as powerful as giving. The next one is she knows that true strength isn't doing it all alone, but in having this discernment to know when to lead and when to allow support. I'm going to repeat that again. She knows that true strength isn't in doing it all alone, but in having the discernment to know when to lead and when to allow support. So, in you being a self-sufficient woman, you know when to do things by yourself and when to allow people to come and help you. Now, I have my iPad here to keep me organized on the segments. So right now we're going into the third segment. Men want to feel needed, but in a way that feels natural, not like they're fighting to prove their worth. And I think this is where the argument comes into play on the internet, where a lot of men, a lot of women like to argue, well, men want to feel needed, blah, 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 blah. But then at the same time, sometimes the content tends to make men feel like they have to prove their worth, like prove, because it's like, oh, all those standards. But it's okay to have standards. But I'm just being a devil's advocate and like, this bullet point, because it is very true, because men do want to feel needed, but it needs to feel natural. It shouldn't feel like, oh, I have to prove that I have this, I have that. How exactly do you make him feel needed? Just by allowing him to rest in his masculine energy. Like, it could be simple things like, like you talk about an issue you may be having and he solves it. It's not about, sometimes I remember before I made content talking about, oh, give him a problem to solve. It could be that, like maybe something where a man is needed. Like, for example, when you're going to the mechanic, like things like that, you make him feel needed. Like, hey, babe, I need my car tire change. Can you help me with that? Like, that's how you make him feel needed, because those are actually masculine roles, right? Because to be honest with you, most of the time, us women, when we go to the mechanic, they definitely do add extra charges because we don't know certain parts, right? So those are some like little ways you can make him feel needed. Like certain little things, like, things that that fits a masculine role, right? Like, it's not every little thing, that every problem you have in your life that you can solve yourself, that you have to put on his back as well. You know what I mean? So now, what was I saying? The first one, let's go back to the first one. Men want to feel needed, but in a way that feels natural, not like they're fighting to prove their worth. The second one is being overly independent can come across as closed off, emotionally unavailable, and even dismissive. And it is true, because when you're overly independent as a woman, you do become closed off to men. Like, you just be like, oh, I don't need a man. Well, I don't need a man. Or, oh, men are this, men are that. And I really want you guys to understand that the tongue has power, and you have to be very mindful of the things you say. You cannot just be saying, oh, I don't need a man because you make money. Just because you make six figures does not mean you don't need a man. Does not mean you need to be masculine. Does not mean you need to force yourself to do everything yourself because you felt like you've gotten yourself to make six figures, so now you can't rely on other people. Don't ever feel like that. You making the money you make is just by God's grace, right? Now you've gotten to this level, so it's like, okay, I do need a man. I do need a man in certain areas of my life. I'm thankful. You still need to rest in your feminine energy. And I want you guys to go listen to my other episode where I talked about making money with your feminine energy, because I think a lot of women, anytime where we have money talk amongst women, the first thing women feel like is they have to be masculine. They feel like, oh yeah, it's a competition, or oh, I have to work extra hard. No, it's about balance between masculine and feminine. And that was, I think, if it's not the last episode, the one before it, where I talked about how to balance your feminine and masculine energy to be financially secured. I think you guys should go watch that episode. It's really helpful in, you trying to transition into becoming more financially stable as a woman. So the next one is, we talked about men want to feel needed. The next one we said was being overly independent can come off as closed off, emotionally unavailable, or even dismissive. The third one is it creates a dynamic where men don't know how to add value to your life, leading them to check out. And this is so true. This is so true for a lot of women that are CEOs. Sometimes some of you be saying, oh, well, women who have a 6-7 figure career, they find it hard to have a man, or they can never find a man. That's the exact reason. Because those women are so overly independent, they don't know how to be self-sufficient. So because they're so overly independent, the reason why they find it hard to have a relationship with men is because they create a dynamic where men don't know how to add value. That is the issue. So when you guys are saying these things about, yeah, but how come women that make a lot of money, they always get bums and blah, 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 blah. They create that dynamic themselves because, again, we women need to understand balance. When you understand balance, you can get exactly what you want. You don't have to choose between having a 6-7 figure career and a man. You don't have to choose between, so you can have both. But it's really important in understanding the difference between overly independent and self-sufficiency. Most women who make 6-7 figures are overly independent, which is why they find it hard to get a good guy, because men don't see how they can add value to their life because they're so emotionally unavailable. They're so closed off. They're so dismissive. That's the reason why. The next thing is being overly independent can prevent deep emotional intimacy because you may struggle with letting someone in fully. Again, when you're overly independent, you struggle with letting someone in because you're like, oh, I had to do everything myself, so I can't trust anybody. Again, complete different from being self-sufficient. Overly independent and being self-sufficient, again, is two different things. Please understand this. And I'm going to keep stressing this throughout this episode so you guys can really drain in your head that, okay, just because I want to make 6 figures or 7 figures, or just because I'm investing in myself to learn how to make more money, that doesn't mean I'm being independent. It means I'm becoming self-sufficient. Let's understand the two difference. Self-sufficiency and overly independent, not the same, completely different. Women who are overly independent, they attract bums. Women who are self-sufficient get exactly what they want because they understand balance. They let people in. They are not emotionally unavailable. Now, the next one is it makes relationship feels like a transaction rather than a shared journey. So when you're overly independent, it makes it feel very transactional. That's why sometimes you see these women who make 6, 7, 8 figures. They are in relationships with men where they just sleep and they just be nothing. Like, that's how the bumps come in, because the bumps, all they know they can offer is dick. So that's how it becomes so transactional, because like, okay, well, dick, I have my money, so offer the dick, transactional, right? So again, 2025, we are entering into our wealthy girl era. That does not mean we are becoming overly independent. Thank you, babes. Somebody said the wealth link isn't working. If the wealth link isn't working, it's because you need a VPN. It's your country. You need a VPN. And regardless of the matter, if you wanted to be a digital entrepreneur anyway, you must have a VPN. That's the first tool you need to get, a VPN. Because you want to be able to bounce your device in different countries, states, and regions, right? The best VPN I can recommend is Nord. Okay, so now just to recap on what we talked about in segment 3, which is how overdependency on independence hurts your dating life. The first one is men want to feel needed. Being overly independent can come off as closed off, emotionally unavailable. The third one is it creates a dynamic where men don't know how to add value to your life. It can prevent deep emotional intimacy because you may struggle with letting someone in. It makes relationships feel transactional rather than a shared journey, which is why most hyperly independent women, successful women, have more of a transactional relationship, which is not what Bestie wants for you. Bestie wants you to be self-sufficient, because I know how important it is to be self-sufficient. I know how it feels to be overly dependent on a man, to have to wait for him to give you money, to wait for him to do things for you. It's not a nice place. And we're in 2025. It's not worth it. It's not even worth it. He can provide, but you being self-sufficient it will always give you the power and keeps your power. And that's what I'm preaching to you guys this 2025. So now we're going into segment 4. Are we clear? Can I get some ones in the chat if you guys are clear on everything that we talked about from segment 1, 2, and 3? I want to see some more ones. I want to see some more ones before I get to segment 4. I need to see some more ones. Ones in the chat. Ones in the chat. Is it making sense? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you guys. You guys are lovely. I want you guys to interact with me, because I'm giving you guys all this content to help you guys. I'm serving you guys, and all I ask for you guys is just to interact, like the live, share the live. It's really not. It doesn't. You know what I'm saying? That's free. I'm giving you guys free game. No charge, nothing, telling you guys, trying to help you guys elevate and get you guys to the next level. So the least you could do is double tap the screen, share it, like it, interact, comment, So now the next one we're talking about is how to shift from overly independent to self-sufficient without losing your power, which is really important. Because I think, again, like I mentioned earlier, I feel like women feel like it's one or the other, where they're either overly independent or they're too dependent. So we need to understand how to shift from overly independent to self-sufficiency without losing your power. And before we even get into that, I want to talk about the power dynamic with losing your power, quote, quote, quote. You lose your power when the moment you allow a man to stop your goals and aspirations. You lose when you become very emotional. Now, let me clarify what I mean by very emotional. I mean, you're not emotionally intelligent. Now, there's so many ways for you to convey your emotion in a way where the next person can understand. A lot of women tend to just be very emotional and very sporadic, where they just start crashing out without getting to the root of the problem. Because after you crash out, the problem still is there. So in order for you to solve the problem, you got to be a little bit more emotionally intelligent. It's okay to be emotional, but you have to understand how to convey your emotion to the next person so they understand how it made you feel. So a lot of times, a lot of women tend to nag and point the finger instead of saying, what you did made me feel this way, and I would appreciate if you do it this way so I don't feel this way, because if I feel this way, it's going to make me crash out. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's really important when you're dating with guys, when you're trying to communicate with guys, also try to understand that this person that you're talking to, they don't know you that well, right? The person you was yesterday is not the same person you are today. The person you are today is not going to be the same person you are next week. So it's very important to understand that you're always evolving. So you should never get tired of explaining who you are to someone. You should never get tired of saying, okay, I don't like this, my views on this change. Your views are always going to change, and that's okay. Change is good. Growth is good. Don't ever feel like, oh, well, you're not the same. It's okay to change. Be willing to teach someone who you are at the moment, because at the end of the day, the only person that knows you the best is yourself. So if you feel like you're about to crash out, how is he supposed to know you're going to crash out? How is he supposed to know you don't like something if you don't open your mouth and say it, right? But there is sometimes where guys just don't, they just don't get it. And the guys that don't get it, obviously, those are the ones you walk away from. And that's why holding your power is very important, because when you keep your power, it becomes very easy for you to walk away from any situation. And your power is your finances. Your power is your finances. A lot of you stay in relationships because you're broke. That's the truth. A lot of you cry over men or are so fixated on, oh, when is he going to do this? When is he going to do that? Because you are scared to be fixated on the real problem, which is yourself and your finances, your self-development. When you are a woman that's financially secured, self-developed, it becomes very easy for you to know that, okay, well, this is not working for me because this person is not on the same frequency as me. So I have no problem walking away. It just didn't work. A lot of you be trying to fix things that are not meant to be fixed. Like, it's not meant to work. Some of you be like, oh, no, he's not talking to me. Maybe I did this. I got to make it. No, it's not meant to work. It's not meant to work. Walk away. Walk away. And that's why I've been talking to you guys about self-sufficiency, because I know that when you guys start making your own money and you guys get to a financial place of comfort on your own outside of a man, again, self-sufficiency, not overly independent, you'll be able to find what you're looking for, and you'll be able to kind of avoid situations you don't need to be in. Right? Some situations can be avoided if women became more financially sufficient without a man. Like, you would avoid financial abuse, emotional abuse, narcissistic men, because you'll be able to see the red flags immediately, because you have your own money. So you're not dating from a place of lack. You're not dating, all the content that has been pushed on social media of recent when it comes to dating has been always, oh, date for financial security. Oh, date a man with money. Date a man with money. No one talks about us women being self-developed and being self-sufficient. It's like a thing that, oh no, you gotta make sure you date a man with money. He don't care what you do. He shouldn't care about how much money you make. Yeah, he shouldn't care about how much money you make, but what about you? What about you caring about how much you make? What about you actually being able to know that you can afford to leave? Yes, you're still going to date men with money. It doesn't erase the fact that you're still going to date a guy that's a provider. It doesn't erase that. But the power lies in your finances, because a lot of you would not deal with the shit you deal with men if you had more money. Let's call a spade a spade. I'm saying this because it's true. Even me, in the past, a lot of shit I wouldn't have been in if I had more money. And now that I'm more mature and I'm evolving, I understand that, okay, my actual power is me being self-sufficient, not being overly independent, just me being self-sufficient, because I'm able to leave whatever doesn't serve me because I'm self-sufficient. I'm not relying on a man to feed me. I'm relying on a man to give me a lifestyle, because I'm already providing that lifestyle for myself. So now, of course, I'm going to date a guy that can provide the lifestyle plus more, but I don't have to stay with him because I want that lifestyle. I don't have to stay with him because I want this money. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, we got to stop looking at men as a money source and start looking at them for what they truly are. And I said this on my skit that I made. You got to stop looking at men as a money source and start looking at them for what they truly are. Because let's call a spade a spade. If you get in the way of a man's objective, you become collateral damage. He got to take you out. You become collateral damage. Yeah. The moment you become a burden, the moment you try to get in between whatever it is he got going on, you become collateral damage. What does that mean? At the expense of your tears, he got to take you out. You got to go. If it means he got to ghost you, if he got to cut you off, he will do whatever he has to do to get you out of there because you are a problem in his objective. So with us knowing that, you got to start being more self-sufficient because now when you are self-sufficient, you start to see what a man truly is. Like, all right, yeah, he's not for me. Next caller. Because and again, saying you have your own money should not make you overly independent. That's the reason why I'm even making this episode, because I want you guys to understand that having your own money doesn't mean you need to be overly independent or you don't need a man. No, you are just self-sufficient. You should not be on a date talking about, oh yeah, I make 6-7 figures. You should not be bragging about your expenses. You should not be bragging about, oh, I do everything myself. You saying you do everything yourself is a red flag. You saying you do everything yourself as a woman is a red flag to a man. To say, oh yeah, I do everything myself. That's a red flag. Because now he's looking at you like, oh yeah, she's overly independent. She's masculine. I'm pretty sure I could do the bare minimum and get away with it. You never want to ever make a man feel like because you make your own money, you don't need him and you do everything yourself. Because if you say that, he's going to continuously allow you to do everything yourself. So you don't open your mouth and be like, oh yeah, I make 6-7 figures. I'm a digital entrepreneur and yeah, I do everything myself. No, you don't tell him that because he's going to allow you. You got to be smart. You know, you have your own money because you're self-sufficient and your own money is your insurance policy. Your power, your money's your power. So you don't want to sit there and be waving it in his face like, yeah, I don't need you. Because if you show him you don't need him, he's going to allow it. Because he already knows that you're a woman. Men know that we're emotional beings and they love to use our emotions to get what they want. So they already know like, oh yeah, you got your own money? All right, cool. Well, I don't got to do shit for her because this bitch already talking about she don't need nobody. She do everything herself. So cool. I'm going to let her do all that herself. But I'm going to still spread them legs and get what I can and get up out of here because I don't want a masculine woman. I don't want to feel like I'm competing with the women I'm dating. I don't want to feel like I'm competing about who makes more money because that's what these girls be doing online. Let's call it spade a spade. Some of these girls be like, yeah, I make more money than you. No, don't ever oh, I don't need nobody. Don't say that. Don't speak that. As I'm talking to you guys about, getting into your wealthy girl era, joining the wealth club so you can learn how to make more money, whether you have a 9-to-5 or not. Don't ever start making more money because you now know how to run a digital business and then you start feeling like you could flex on every guy you meet. Like, yeah, I make 6 figures. Oh yeah, I don't need you. Don't ever do that. Okay. Again, there's a difference between being self-sufficient and overly independent. And you talking about like that means you're overly independent and means you're masculine. It gives off masculine energy. Again, you can be a feminine woman and make your own money. You can be a CEO of a company. You can be making 6-7 figures. You could be a rich girl and still be feminine. Do not ever feel like because you make more money, you have to be masculine. You put yourself in your masculine energy when you decide that because you're making more money, you don't need anybody. You can do everything yourself. That's you putting yourself in your masculine energy. Now, let's get into segment 4, which is the last segment of this episode, because this episode is not meant to be that long. It's just meant to be a reminder and a refresher and a wake-up call for most women. Now, we're talking about how no problem, love. We're talking about how to shift from overly independent to self-sufficient without losing your power. So this is what we're talking about this segment, how to shift from overly independent to self-sufficient. Now, first of all, the first thing is reframe your mindset. Accept that allowing support doesn't mean you're weak. It means strategy. Now, a smart girl knows that because she's receiving support, it doesn't mean, oh, she's weak. It means that she knows how to get things done with less effort. A smart woman knows that Because she's receiving support, she knows how to get multiple things done with less effort. Don't ever think because someone's supporting you or someone is helping you, that means you're weak and you're incapable. No, it just means that you're smart. You know how to get things done with less effort. You're not going to put too much energy on one thing when you could put your energy on other things. You're playing chess, not checkers. The second thing is practice receiving, which is the problem with majority of women today. They have a hard time receiving. This is why some women have a hard time asking a man for money. I don't give a fuck how much money I make. I'm still not gonna be there like, oh, I'm going to ask. Yeah. I don't care if I make 6, 7, 8, 9. I could make 12 figures. I'm still gonna say, oh yeah, babe, I need some money. Yeah. I want to receive. Yeah. Don't ever give up the asking because you make more money. Okay? So practice receiving, whether it's small favors, emotional support, train yourself to accept help without guilt. So even it could be something like, oh, babe, can you help me get this? Or babe, can you make this for me? Can you make this food for me? Practice receiving. Don't ever feel like, oh, back in the day, right, our parents taught us that, oh, although you cook, you clean, you do all of this, you work, blah, blah, blah. Now it's, okay, babe, can you help me make this meal? I don't feel like making it today. Oh, babe, can I? Like, practice receiving. Really start asking for support when you need it. Don't feel ashamed. Don't feel like it devalues your abilities to do things for yourself. Just ask. Just still ask. Like, oh, babe, can you help me do this? Oh, babe, can you help me wash the clothes? I don't feel like washing clothes. And even if the man doesn't get it right, at least you have support. Just practice receiving. Don't feel guilty for accepting help. The third one is recognize the difference between standards and walls. Woo! Recognize the difference between standards and walls, which is what is the issue with a lot of women. A lot of women put up walls and call it, oh, these are my standards. Yeah. He can't. No, bitch, it's walls. You're putting up walls. Let's call a spade a spade. A lot of women think that because they have certain standards, that, oh, no, bitch, you're putting up a wall. You're putting up a China wall. Yeah. And you wonder why guys are not talking to you because you're putting up a wall. Now, you have to ask yourself, are you pushing men away under the disguise of high standards, or are you truly making space for a healthy partnership? Now, ask yourself that question. I'm going to repeat this question again for you guys for brain food for thought. Are you pushing men away and using, oh, I have high standards, disguising it under high standards, or are you truly making space for healthy partnerships? I want you to ask yourself, would you date who you currently are right now? So you cannot have all these high standards of, oh, I want a man to be this, I want a man to be that, and you're not that. When it comes to your standards, it needs to be realistic. Be realistic with yourself. Like, you have to ask yourself, I want all this from a guy, but the guy that I'm building, would he date me at who I currently am? If the answer is no, then you need to improve yourself. You need to improve yourself to match what it is you're asking for. So that's food for thought. The next one is learn the art of softness. Learn the art of softness. Feminine energy isn't about being weak. It's about balance, being able to both lead and lean in. I'm going to repeat that again. Feminine energy isn't about being weak. It's about balance, about being able to both lead and lean in. So you need to know how to lead, but also lean in. Like, all right, I don't want to, like, it needs to be a healthy balance, okay? The next and final one is communicate. Don't compete. It, girl, right? Clocking it. The next one is communicate, don't compete. Your strengths is attractive, but your ability to create harmonious partnership is what keeps a relationship thriving. And I think that's the problem with a lot of women today too. They like to compete. Like, they want to use, oh, I'm stronger than a man. I'm stronger than you. Your strengths are attractive, but your ability to create a harmonious partnership is what keeps a relationship thriving. Bestie Next Door doesn't want you. If you want to be single, that's you. That's fine. But I'm not trying to keep all of you single and miserable. I don't want you guys to be single and miserable. And being single doesn't mean you're miserable. Doesn't mean that. But we have to get to a point of understanding that women got to stop blaming men for their mishaps. That's what's happening. A lot of women just keep blaming men. Like, it's men's fault. No, you're pointing one finger, but there's 4 fingers pointing back at you. So if you don't like the men that you're attracting, you don't like the life that you're living, it has a lot to do with your self-development, and you really need to bring yourself up and rise yourself to the standards that you expect other people to have. Because again, you show people how to treat you, and since you attract since you are a reflection of your attractions, obviously you want to reflect the best so you can get the best. And the best is out there. Don't allow people to tell you, oh, you can't get this, you can't get that. Like, I hate when I see content that say, oh, it's only ugly men that's rich. That's a lie. That's a lie. I can tell you that right now. That's a lie. Oh, it's only fat. No, that's a lie. All of that's a lie. It's a limiting way of thinking, and I don't want you guys to think like that. Just like how a man can find a woman that is in shape, eats well, have money, you can find the same exact thing. Stop allowing these people, these content creators or whatever you call it, dating coaches, relationship coaches, to tell you things that is not true. Don't allow them to push their limiting beliefs on you because they limit themselves. I'm telling you, you can get exactly what you want, but always understand that there's no one perfect. You know how they say, imperfection is I'm perfect. Imperfection, I'm perfect. If you break the word down, it still has I'm perfect inside. So as much as you want a guy to be good, you got to also understand there's not going to be good without bad. Like there's not going to be good without bad. So as much as you say, oh, I want a guy to be this, I want a guy to be that, you also have to understand that there's going to be a little 20% somewhere down the line that may not be the best. And you have to be okay with that. So as you're building what you want, also know that, okay, draw a line next to it and say, these are the things that I will compromise on. And then also have your non-negotiables. So, conclusion, we're coming to the end of this episode, guys. I'm happy that I didn't go over time because it's 45 minutes. I didn't want to go over time. So, to recap, the difference between over-independent and self-sufficiency, we already understand an overly independent is a woman that says she don't need a man. She is masculine. She is burnt out usually. And then there's self-sufficiency where you know how to give and receive and you know how to lead and lean in. I want you guys to just this episode is meant to be a refresher. I really want you guys to just reflect on the things that I've said on this episode because I know that a lot of you put yourself in hyper independence. Someone said I disagree that we have to be on the same level of them financially. I'm not saying that you have to be on the same level as them financially, but it's all about being able to enter the room. You have to be on the same social class. My friend found her a rich husband that provides for her and her kids. That's good for her. Is that happening for you? Is that happening for you? Because you're telling me about your friend, but is that happening for you? Okay. So what I'm saying is social class, right? It's all about social class. That's what I'm trying to that's the point I'm driving at. I am not trying to make anyone hyper independent. I'm trying to make you understand self-sufficiency because at the end of the day, although that's your friend's fairy tale, that's not your fairy tale. That's not what you're going through right now. So again, just because I'm talking about having your own money as a woman, it's about self-sufficiency. It's not about, independency, you have to compete. Did you not listen to what I just said? Is the lights on? Because you're talking about your friend, but you ain't talking about you. Oh, okay. Yeah. So, anyways, yeah. Hi, Pinky. Anyways, so guys, like I was mentioning, we're being self-sufficient. We are obviously, clearly dating on our social class, right? We can't expect more than what we are. When we are more, we receive more because the universe will always reflect to us what we are. Simple as that. Oh, thank you for loving my content. I'm trying to get to a place of conveying the message differently than what you guys usually see. Because I feel like it's getting a little bit boring seeing the same type of content. You know, I tried to convey the message as different as possible to be creative as possible. Thank you, Pinky7. I try to keep it real because I want people to keep it real with me. And I would wish that when I was a bit younger, I didn't have to go through what I went through. And I think God deliberately allowed me to go through what I went through so I can be a good guidance to others. So that's the reason why I'm saying all these things to you guys. I'm not saying it in a way where you can't find a rich husband or you can't find a rich man. Some people, that's their destiny, that's their story to get into the right room and be in the right place at the right time. But it's not the same for everybody. So this whole idea of, this person married a rich husband and she had no money. A lot of people like to talk about other people's stories, but they're not talking about themselves. They're like, oh, well, my friend, I know somebody. Okay, you know somebody, but have you found, yeah. I want you to show me if you know what I'm saying? So telling you guys, because I want you guys to understand that your power lies in you being self-sufficient. Still dating men with the money. Yeah. Right? We're still dating the men with the money. Always. We're still going for the providers. We're still going to go for the providers. But we can afford to walk away if the provider decides he want to start acting crazy. Exactly. And I'm going to leave you guys with that. If you're here with me live on TikTok, thank you for watching live. If you're listening to this replay on YouTube, thank you for watching. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, thank you for listening. And like, comment, and subscribe. And you guys already know the rest. Until we meet again.